Nicholas Guevara was born on August 14th, 1940, in Edmond, Oklahoma, in a little house on a farm. And he had one sister that was younger than him, and a brother who was also younger than him, and then a brother who was older than him. He didn't get into the names or the ages because he just didn't really want to go there. Okay, so, and then his mother was in charge of all of the field animals and all of those, like, livestock type of things. And then his father was in charge of doing more of the plant work. I'm not really sure the terminology, but the point is he was more doing the farm, like the agriculture aspect of the farm. The story from when he was born was that he basically kind of just came out like a watermelon, and he said that it was because his mom had already had like 2 kids, so we can put A and B together. Then also, so their house was very simple, and he did not get along well with his younger sister. They just butt heads a lot, and with his other brothers, he wasn't very close with them. He was also very fond of the neighborhood that he lived in. It was very quiet. It was a Christian neighborhood. They were all going to like the same kind of church and whatever, so everybody was very interconnected. The parents would all sit together and have these dinner parties and barbecues, cookouts, etc. The kids would all play together, so everybody kind of knew each other in the area, and everybody's parents kind of parented each other's kids. Like, everybody was very, very close and interconnected. Then he reflected on his times as a child with a lot of sadness, but also fondness. It was very intermingling. And he and his siblings attended Catholic school together, and Catholic middle school, like just all the way, all Catholic school. And his parents and his siblings had to work very hard after school, and sometimes have to come home during school to help take care of the farm so that they could pay for all of this. And he was held to very high standards in high school and all of his schooling in general. And he never really struggled except for when he was trying to intentionally neglect his schoolwork to try to get his father's attention, because his father was a raging alcoholic. But that didn't usually end up working. And if it did, if he got a bad grade, like every once in a while, his father would just beat him. So it didn't really solve any sort of problem. It kind of just made things worse. But he said, he was like, negative attention is better than no attention. Then in his early years, he had many friends, and he generally got into a lot of trouble, and he was mostly bullying a lot of other kids because he said he was very insecure, but usually he never got caught because of the way he was doing it. He was just clever with it. He spent a lot of time playing baseball with his friends, spent a lot of time with his family, like during work, being at home, always, like they were always kind of together. They all went to school together as well, so, there was no way to get away from them. And then one of his favorite memories growing up was going with his father on his annual fishing trip. And he reflected on that with, like, some sadness, because it was the only way that he was able to connect with his father, and that was only, like, for a weekend a year. And his dad wouldn't really drink for that weekend because he just enjoyed nature, but he didn't usually have the time to go out in nature, but that turned into when Nicholas was 40, he ended up having a very, very costly midlife crisis where he spent thousands and thousands of his hard-earned dollars on fishing equipment, and also different fishing boats and equipment to go with the boats, hand in hand. But he did find a lot of peace with that, and he also came to terms with the fact that he really never got over the trauma that he experienced with his father as a child, with his drinking and just abuse of the whole family, especially with Nicholas. Apparently, for some reason, he was just kind of rather targeted as, like, kind of the middle child and such. And then he still feels some resentment towards his father all these years later, but he speaks more about that he really loves him, and he attributes a lot of his success to being able to be strong enough to cultivate the success that he ended up getting. He has a beautiful house, and although he had been divorced twice, like, he had a beautiful wife and he has beautiful children that his wife gave him. So he's very grateful for that, and also grandchildren at this point, you know. So, and then I asked him about who his heroes were, and he said that Abraham Lincoln was one of his heroes when he was growing up. Don't ask me why. I guess that's just everybody to each their own. So, but he said that he just admired him. Like, he just thought he was a really cool guy. He always loved reading about him as a child. So there was just, like, a special place in his heart. And he still reads about him, like, whenever he gets the chance. Like, if he's just, you know, he just likes researching about him. So, and then his second hero was also his father. Even though his father was incredibly abusive, he still held him in a very high place in his heart, because, again, he still is his father. And then he spoke with me about how one of his favorite memories growing up was when he was 12 and he and his father went to the zoo together. And they didn't have very much time to do that many activities together when he was growing up, because of his father's drinking, number one, and also because of the having to manage and keep up with the farm. So they didn't have that many time to do that many trips. So when he did take these trips, they were very special to him. And he also had quite a knack, or a interest in chimpanzees. So they ended up going to the chimpanzee exhibit that was new that year, and he said that was really exciting for him. And his father hadn't drank that much that day, so it was a good day, and he just remembered that one. So, and then I asked him about his dating life, and he said that he was quite a player, and that he was, like, a smooth talker, and all the women kind of liked him because they knew he was trouble and such, you know how it is. And then, but he did end up getting beat up a lot, because you can't really be going out here running your mouth to everybody's girlfriend and not expect to get stomped. So he was telling me about how he got stomped quite often, which I don't know what to tell him. But whatever, that's fine. To each their own life. Peace and love. Yeah, and he also said that he really didn't feel too bad about it, because his dad taught him to pack a punch and also to take a punch. So it was, he didn't really feel bad. Anyway, in his later teen years, he explained that he got into more shady activities and had more shady friends, and his father began drinking a lot more, so that became kind of a problem. But he continued to play baseball, hang out with girls, and do delinquent activities a lot, like drinking, partying, smoking. And he retired at 83, after working several jobs, but mostly it was his Walmart job that he climbed to the top with. And one of his a memory that he remembered, a historical event that he remembered, was seeing John F. Kennedy be assassinated on TV. He said he didn't really feel too much about that because he had a lot on his mind at the time. So, but, and he said the biggest problem today was liberals because they're too sensitive. And then his advice for younger people is to get a Roth IRA account so that you have money to mess around with when you're old like him. So